So this was officially Cade Cunningham's coming out party as an emerging star. Now, superstar is reserved for seeing you in the playoffs against other superstars. But this was a star performance against the New York Knicks. And I want to dive into that in this video. But before I do, this video is brought to you by Bridges and Stone's Family and Relationship Care. You know, the holidays can be tough for a lot of us, whether it's distance from family, relationship issues, social isolation, or struggling to adapt to the weather of this season. Depression and loneliness can get to us all. This season doesn't have to be something to dread, though. It can also be your opportunity to learn coping skills and the steps you need to move into healthier relationships. Contact Bridges and Stones today for a free consultation with a professional coach to get the support you need. Don't struggle alone. The link is in the description box below. Cade Cunningham had clearly, without fail, without comparison, his best game as a Detroit Piston. This was a game that I said to myself, this was the Luka Doncic comparison. This was the guy who can be a fulcrum of a championship contending team. This could be your number one scorer on a championship team. This could be the guy who leads you against other great players, who says, get on my back, I'll lead the way. Cade Cunningham in this game, I want to start off by saying I love the way he started this game. His energy said, let's go. Let's go. Most of the time, many times, if we're honest, his energy is lacking at the beginning of games. He's walking it up when they should be pushing it after defensive rebounds or even steals. There's many times where we see he's indecisive and he's trying to read the game and read the flow, and he's somewhat processing at a slow rate. But in this game, from the very beginning, he was pushing the pace, which is something that coaches have tried to encourage him to do throughout his early career. But he was initiating it consistently throughout the first half of this game. And I think it led to some easy scoring opportunities where he was perpetually able to keep the defense of the New York Knicks on its heels, which was essential because they boast probably one of the stronger sets of perimeter defenders in the league outside of the Boston Celtics, who just lost today to the Memphis Grizzlies. But it's to say that Cade Cunningham's ability to keep them on their heels prevented them from being able to get up into him. Now, we did see in the second half, especially in that fourth quarter, as soon as he slowed down, they started to get to him. They can get the ball out of his hands. He started taking too long to read plays, getting caught by the defense, unaware, had some turnovers, etc., etc. But throughout the course of this game, Cade Cunningham's ability to control the pace, to control the flow of the game, and keep the defense on its heels was masterful. It was masterful. Having 15 assists to only 3 turnovers is masterful. And when we look at how he started the game, absolutely dominating the game. In the second half, he was able to come in and he was able to maintain the lead and control of the game for his team because it slipped almost every single time. Almost every single time outside of in the first half when Malik Beasley would come in and he got hot, hitting 7 of 10 or 7 of 8 3-point shots. Let me just quickly check here. It was 7 of 10 from the 3-point line. Malik Beasley once again came in scorching. Second leading scorer. He was a huge addition to this game. I don't know why he wasn't in the game sooner to close out the game in the fourth quarter. It's a JB Bickerstaff mishap, but he figured it out, got him in there, and they were able to close this game out against the Knicks. But it's to say that Cade Cunningham basically told his team, get on my back. And that's something that only a few stars are able to do. This isn't something that an all-star player is always able to do, because some guys make the all-star team. Shoot, Nikola Vucevic made an all-star team, right? Zach LaVine made an all-star team, right? There are guys who make an all-star team once, Brandon Ingram once, and then you don't see him again, right? Chris Middleton, And it doesn't mean that they're not really good players. It just means that they're not quite there at stardom when you're looking at them as a max level player who can be the number one option on a championship team. Maybe they're a number two. Maybe they're a number three. Cade Cunningham in this game put his team on his back in a way that reminded us, yeah, this is our guy. This is our guy. When you look at the other guys from his draft class, there is not a single other player who is able to be such an offensive fulcrum where he can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to get us the buckets, or I'm going to get us the assists, or I'm going to set the defense in motion by forcing the action, forcing them to collapse, making the correct read, and putting us in a position where we have an advantage every single time I'm on the court, each and every play. And that's what Cade did from beginning to end. I was watching this game and I was sitting back, especially in the first half, in the first quarter, and I was like, I've never seen Cade Cunningham dominate like this before. Normally, what he ends up doing is turning the ball over once or twice in a row, and it completely stalls or kills the momentum that he's building, right? He'll get 2 buckets in a row, and then he'll turn it over twice, right? He'll get 2 buckets and 2 assists, and then all of a sudden he throws the ball away and the other team's going back to the other end, and then they score quickly, and then they score again, and all of a sudden the momentum is shifted. In this game, Cade Cunningham was able to not just control the game, not just maintain the pace and pushing the lead, but he was able to maintain control of the game with his play. And when you look at who he was going up against, Jalen Brunson, right, who many times he was echoed for being an MVP last season, right? A guy who's been proven to take his team deep into the playoffs, a consummate winner, an all-star, right? He was going up against Jalen Brunson in his house in Madison Square Garden, where it is the bright lights that get hot. And we saw Jaden Ivey, he was struggling under those bright lights. Jalen Durant, man, he has been on struggle throughout this stretch recently. But it's to say that as guys were struggling, right? Tobias Harris, once again, great job on the boards. Put up 13 and 9 with an assist. Decent efficiency was a +5, plus minus. Only 1 for 4 from the 3-point line. He missed a few. Almost all of his threes were just wide open, and he only made 1 of them. Tim Hardaway Jr. similarly, 1 for 5. And yet Cade Cunningham comes in, he makes 5 of 8. He was hitting from the 3-point line in a way that really kind of buoyed the offensive efficiency for the entire team. Him and Malik Beasley just basically carried them offensively. Jaden Ivey did his best, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, 16 points. Missed a couple free throws, which is kind of weird. He looks tired, honestly. I might do a video later on about that. But, Jaden Ivey struggled. He struggled. He wasn't reading the game as fast. He was indecisive. He seemed like he didn't have that burst of energy. He didn't have that Westbrook-like, downhill tenaciousness. But then again, Jaden Ivey's actually being asked to play defense as a point of attack defender, and that takes a lot out of you. And I've said before, they need a Sarr Thompson or a Ron Holland, who looked really good with the starting unit as that wing defender. He was able to put some really good clamps on Jalen Brunson without fouling. He did actually a great job with his size and quickness and agility. He got a offensive foul call on a screen. I think it was by Josh Hart or Precious Achua. He did a great job. But it's to say that when it came to controlling the game, he didn't really get that much help from his team. The bench did an okay job. Simone Fontecchio, he had a couple threes, 2 for 3 that I thought were big time in that second half. Jaden Ivey, both of his threes in that fourth quarter, in between turnovers. It was necessary to maintain this lead when the Knicks were trying to knock on the door and force their way back in. But at the end of the day, it was Cade Cunningham. It was Cade Cunningham. Now, I do want to say this. Despite this breakout, Cade Cunningham's endurance. Woo. I mean, look, it'd be one thing if it was only one time that we've seen this, but we've seen this regularly. Cade gets gassed at the end of games. I don't understand it. I'm not sure why, but he does. He gets gassed. And all of a sudden, he falls off a cliff. Now, maybe that's something that, as the time goes on, he will be able to master or at least figure out how he can still be effective, similar to Luka Doncic, right, as the game wanes on. But what he was able to do for 3.5 quarters was more than enough to be able to help these Detroit Pistons beat the New York Knicks. Congratulations to Cade Cunningham, the first Detroit Piston to put up a triple-double in Madison Square Garden. He had an incredible game, toe-to-toe with Jalen Brunson. He brought it home. Congrats to the Pistons. But as always, I want to know what you all think of this performance by Cade Cunningham. What would you grade it in terms of what he's been able to do throughout his early career? Hit that like button, subscribe, and the bell for notifications. Get at me in the comment section because I would love to talk about this soon. And I'm going to holler at y'all next time. Peace.